The story starts in an unprecedented way. Our main character, Hanzai, was standing in the middle of the city with his little puppy, and a guy was destroying the city and was killing people with his huge contracted creatures. He was feeling really good doing this. Hanzai with his classmates was running to seek a safe place, but then the guy blocks their way and tells them that his snake is hungry and is looking for some young students to eat. The giant snake leaps at them. Hanzai tells everyone to run in separate directions. He had no other option but to hold them back. Suddenly 3 giant lions appears before him, and with their one strike, he flies away and crashes badly on some furniture. He gets up. His classmates looks at him but decides to inform the teacher about the matter. Even in all this tense situation, Hanzai actually had a smile on his face. He was happy that now there was no one in between them. The guy had a giant red dragon. Then the little puppy Hanzai starts transforming into something else. The guy's lion attacks him, but with one kick, Hanzai knocks down even him. The body of the lion was below his feet and the little puppy was now a ferocious large dog behind him. He calls the puppy Dao and asks him to not use any foul language this time. Let's take a look into who Hanzai really is. He was somehow teleported to the current world about 19 years ago from his real world. After a long wait, finally it was his day to make contract with a beast. Everyone had their own requirements for contracts. Some were confident, others were nervous. 2 of Hanzai's classmates were talking about him. They were trying to guess how strong his contracted beast will be, as he was best liberal arts student this year and has strong mental power. They predicts that he might become a legendary figure in the future. Hanzai was clearly pissed hearing all this. Then they starts talking about Wang Kai, who was second after Hanzai. His family background was also good, but still they considers him weaker than Hanzai. Wang Kai was actually hearing all this and was miffed. He goes to Hanzai and asks him to check whose beast is better after the contract is done. Hanzai tells him that he is not interested and leaves. Wang Kai was even more after this interaction. It was finally the time. They were all standing under a huge tower. It was the famous contract tower. Everyone, including Hanzai, was amazed to see how spectacular it is. Suddenly, Hanzai hears a voice and it was asking him what does he want. Hanzai remembers that the teacher mentioned that it is the contract tower and his spiritual resonance space. He realizes that the contract tower was talking to him. To answer the tower's question, he was about to ask for what he wants, but suddenly he hears the teacher's voice, instructing him to go inside the tower and make contract as it was his turn. He steps in and stands on the magic circle, which was the switch to open the entire contract tower. He teleports to a very mysterious place. It was looking heavenly, and in front of him was the contract hall. He bites his thumb and advances towards it. He drops his blood into the water kept there, and then a beam of light flashes from the sky. And then a lot of bubbles comes out of the sky. Hanzai was wondering why he was getting so many while actually a person could make contracts with 5 creatures maximum. Then one of the bubbles turned red. Hanzai could feel that it was a special one. So, he grabs it, and then when he opens his fist, he had a luminous sign in his palm. He names his creature Yoga. Thus, the contract was finally done. It was the last spark for people to fight against nature. Originally, this planet was a parallel world that was nearly identical to Earth. But decades ago, fog began to cover the entire planet. Since then, the remaining creatures except humans have undergone mutations, and the space for human activities has been greatly compressed. And these creatures were hunting humans. Just when people built high walls to resist the fog and mutated creatures, the contract tower appeared. That's how the contracts came into being. People who mastered the driving of giant beasts gradually had the capital to fight against nature. Some people believed that it was the end of the world, while others said that it was God's punishment for human beings' contempt for nature. As per Hanzai, it was just survival of the fittest. Everybody was having some sort of contract with some kind of creature. The blonde girl from before was crying as her creature was actually a grass. Their teacher tells them that students who have contracted with weaker creatures should not be discouraged. They might not be special force, but they were also an indispensable new force for the country. Some students questions him why they all always contract with foreign beasts. The teacher yells them that, not only them but people all over China are also curious to know the answer to this. But for some reason, very few people can make contracts with domestic beasts. Moreover, once in a while, there is a person and divine beast contracted to the country, and they are all pitifully weak. A red lightning was striking the tower top while Hanzai was making contract. Even the teacher was scared to see that. When the other students asks him what the matter is, he tells them that all of this is happening because Hanzai have contracted to a divine beast. Wang Kai was more jealous than anyone else. The mayor and his men were observing all this. Everyone in the city were aware that someone is contracting with an unbelievable creature. A big guy was harassing a person to take his contracted beast. He sees it happening as well. Hanzai was nervous. Then finally his beast appears. It was a little puppy. Hanzai feels disappointed after getting just a regular earth dog. He remembers that when he was a child in his previous life, his family raised a cat that looked really similar. He holds the dog and pats it gently but was still disappointed. The next door opens and he enters there. A window projection appears before him. It congratulates him for successfully making a contract with Swallow, the god dog. Hanzai was shocked to see this as the dog seems to be an ordinary dog unlike stated. Then it asks him if he wants to open the beginner's gift pack now or wait for it. He thinks about it and presses no. The tower's exit door finally opens and Hanzai comes out of it. Everyone was expecting it to be some big ferocious beast, but when they sees Hanzai holding a little puppy, they bursts to laugh and makes fun of him. Hanzai does not replies anything and keeps walking. The students were now preferring to be friend with Wang Kai as he now has a huge beast. Wang Kai blocks Hanzai way and tells him to go back to his gutter. Wang calls his beast Behemoth. It was huge, but Swallow was also staring at it with anger. On the other hand, that big guy was also looking for his next prey after killing that person. His bat located Hanzai's position and they were now ready to go to hunt him down. Wang Kai was ready to fight with Hanzai. People gathered around them to witness it. Swallow was angry, but Behemoth was looking dangerous. It charges towards Hanzai. Swallow also jumps off him and red sparks were coming out of its body. Behemoth tries to strike him with its claw, but suddenly something hits him and he falls down. No one could see what happened. Wang Kai runs to him and asks Hanzai what did he do to his beast. Then suddenly their teacher comes in and finishes the fight. He tells Wang Kai to not be too complacent with his beast or he will not achieve anything in his life. He pulls Wang Kai's ears and scolds him for using the contracted beast so carelessly, due to which now it was exhausted. Wang Kai apologizes to him for the trouble. Hanzai asks Swallow if he did it. Swallow signals him a no and starts rolling on the ground. Then Hanzai hugs him and plays more with him. The girls were impressed to see how adorable Swallow was. They asks Hanzai if they can touch him. Hanzai gladly offers them to do it. So, they pats him on the head and hugs him. Then they asks Hanzai his name. Hanzai ponders a little and then names it Dao. The girls like the name. The Hanzai's eyes falls on the blonde girl with her little plant. They both exchanges a smile. Then Hanzai checks Dao's stats. He finds out that he was a SSS grade creature and have 100% loyalty. Then some people comes to their teacher and asks him if he will mind if they take him and his students for a few minutes. The teacher respectfully addresses them as captains and asks them why were they there. They tells him that they were all attracted by the vision of the Black Contract Tower. Captain Zhang asks them to talk to the students one by one after the shift is over, like they do in the previous years, but in the end Zhang convinces him to lend them some students. The teacher explains all the students that the four in front of them are the captains in charge of the war group stationed in the academy. Captain Zhang, Captain Xiao, and their two deputy teams. He tells them that they are here to select seed players for their teams, so they need to think carefully and not make blind decisions. Thus, after getting permission, they starts recruiting. Captain Zhang calls the blonde girl of all and asks her to join their second search team. The girl was confused. She tries to explain to Captain Xiao that her creature is just a grass, but Xiao tells her that she wants her at all costs, and a snake-like tentacle comes out of her and attacks the girl. But the grass cuts it like a blade. Everyone was shocked to see this. Xiao especially was really excited and asks her to join her sister's team at all costs. The girl was not sure what to say, but then she thinks about Hanzai. She asks Xiao some time to think about the offer. Xiao agrees and tells her that she will come to her dormitory to chat with her at night. Then she leaves. The other people were curious to know how she caught their eye. The teacher was wondering how could that grass be so strong. Could it be some kind of mutated plant that has not been discovered yet, or Hanzai's vision was actually caused by the monster grass, just delayed due to some unknown reason? He was not sure. On the other hand, Wang Kai stops Hanzai and tells him to wait after admission. But Hanzai was focused on enter into the inner ring. Later that day, Hanzai opens his novice package in his dormitory, but all he receives is some dog food and then a dog breeding guidebook. So, now he had no other choice but to check what's written in the book. So, he reads the book while feeding Dao. Dao bites his hand. Hanzai realizes that he has to train him well first. The dog food was increasing Dao's experience level. and he still wanted to eat more. But before that, Han Zai takes him to the training ground to teach him some basic moves. An old man was watching them. He finds him interesting as he was there for basic training by himself, unlike others before the school starts. Han Zai teaches Dao swimming, running on the treadmill, lifting weight and other basic stuff. Then they both takes a shower. Han Zai checks his own stats to see how strong is he now, and he was surprised to see the results. He finds out that with the upgrading of Dao, his stats were also increasing in a crazy speed. He was very happy. Dao was eating so much that he finishes 93 bags in just 3 days. Han Zai was on a tight budget. He thinks of buying some food as a reserve and reporting to his family. There were telephone booths and communication was possible now only via that because of the fog around half of the world. He was about to pick up the telephone, then he hears 3 people talking about him. Their pockets were stuffed with cash. They were looking for Han Zai. Han Zai goes to him and asks him why is he looking for him. Wai Hao tells him that it's due to her sister, that she was worried that she did not hear from him for a day and she sneaked out to wait for him in the alley behind. After telling this much, they leaves. Han Zai doubts it as she was too little to come there alone. He wonders if it is Wang trying to take revenge, but as he was too strong now, he was not afraid. Thus, he enters the alley. As soon as he enters, the huge bat tries to attack him. He dodges it, but behind him was that big bad guy. He wonders why his beast is a little dirt dog. He commands his bat to kill Han Zai and spare Dao. The bat releases its sonic sound waves. Han Zai shuts his ears and could not move. The man was happy that after catching the dog, the man in black will recruit him. But then suddenly, red aura comes out of Dao and takes form of a big hound. On the other hand, Han Zai grabs the bat and slams it against the wall. The man starts bleeding as well. Han Zai calls him weak. The man was really angry and charges at him and asks the bat to give him maximum power so that he can shatter Han Zai's internal organs. Han Zai leaves the bat, and before the man could hit him, he strikes him on his chest. The hit shatters his ribcage and damages his internal organs. Then Han Zai grabs the bat as well and tears its one wing apart and steps on it. The man was absolutely shocked to see a new kid being so strong. Crawling like a rat, he tries to escape, but Han Zai blocks him. Then he starts blackmailing that he knows everything about his family, his address and his sister. Han Zai tells him that it does not matter as right now his life in his hands. Han Zai breaks one of his leg and starts dragging him deeper into the alley. The roles were now reversed. Suddenly a girl shouts at him to stop. It was Xiao. Her red snake was hissing right on her shoulders. Han Zai tries to explain her that he was brought there by him. The man asks her for help, but Xiao starts inquiring him why did he bring a new student in an alley. Was it to snatch his contracted beast? As soon as the man touches her leg, his body starts petrifying. Xiao tells him that they have no place for garbage like him and shatters his head with one kick. Xiao tells Han Zai that since it was not his fault, the topic will end now. Han Zai wonders if she is a friend or a foe due to her strange attitude. Before leaving, Xiao tells him that the bat's body is worth tens of thousands of dollars, so he should figure out a way to deal with it. Han Zai was stunned after hearing this. Even if parents work hard for a year, they might not be able to praise that much money. Then he sees Dao and he was eating the rest of the body. It was too late to say anything, but after that he was feeling like his strength has improved. The next day at the university, the teacher gathers everyone. Wang Kai's sidekicks were buttering him. They were mocking Han Zai and Wang Kai was enjoying it. He tells them that he had good intentions, so he thought about asking Han Zai if he would like to follow him in the future, but his manner good, which he would have regretted as he has not shown up since the fight. They were guessing that he dropped out of the school in shame. Everyone was busy doing their own stuff. The blonde girl was wondering why Han Zai was still not there. Then suddenly Han Zai appears there with Dao. Wang's men still tries to mock him that he will get the worst department. The teacher comes and shouts at them to be silent. Han Zai arrives there and everyone was talking about how he is now stronger than ever before. They were wondering, what has he gone through to become so strong? It was as if he used to be a rusty wooden gun. Now he was a battle-hardened silver gun. A girl comes to Xiao Nan, the blonde girl, and asks her if she noticed Han Zai to be handsome than before as well. Xiao Nan answers to her that she has noticed it several times. They were having fun by simping over Han Zai. On the other hand, Wang Kai was burning inside. Han Zai wonders if what the bald guy and the religion he mentioned last night have anything to do with Wang Kai as he passes nearby him. He takes a look at him and now completely believes that it does. Wang Kai's sidekicks tells him that Han Zai has changed a lot mysteriously, that it might be just pretending, like he will stare anyone he sees for example. Then they starts buttering him by telling him that even if Han Zai did change, He still has a dirt dog, and Wang Kai is destined to become the strongest of all in the future, and that Han Zai can be a fitness trainer at most no matter how strong he becomes. Wang Kai starts feeling a little better after hearing all this. Then the teacher goes to the microphone and starts his speech. He tells to everyone that division selection is an important moment that will determine their life, and he also explains the meaning of Sishi, that they choose to fight against the mist and alien beasts and become the last line of defense for mankind. The people were shouting to drive out the beast. The teacher explains them that now they will be faced with 3 choices. First is the combat system, which is the core system of all the colleges. Every time Zaioshin saw Shizayan, it was from the combat department. The combat department was the one responsible for fighting alien beasts and preventing the shrinking of the fog circle, which was the last hope of mankind. The second was the Department of Research. It was mainly responsible for the research of the fog and the fog creatures. Dr. Young was the head of the research department. His scientific research results have doubled the scope of human activities. And the last one of them was the Logistics Department. It was mainly responsible for providing logistics support for the whole city. With that, the teacher tells them that that's all they need to know for now and concludes his speech. He next announces the name of the students and their respective department queues to register. Jiang Xiaonan was sent to the combat department. Her friends envied her as the treatment in the combat department was very good. At least that's what they heard. The people around her could not believe that a girl like her really contracted a beast. Some people even thought that the vision earlier during Han Zai's contract was a delayed response to hers. But Xiaonan keeps walking forward proudly. Then Wang Kai was also announced to go to the combat department. Wang Kai snorted and boasted. He goes and stands beside Xiaonan, and after staring at her for a while, he tells her that he was not expecting a beauty like her to be in the combat department. He also tells her his name, but as Xiaonan had no interest in him, she turns away and, ignoring him, walks out of there. Then finally it was Han Zai's turn. He was announced to go to the logistics department. Han Zai was bothered but did not say anything. However, people were again talking about him that were mocking him for flexing so much earlier, but going to the logistics department now. While Han Zai was walking towards the logistics department, suddenly the teacher announces again that even though he was actually selected for the logistics department, but because of his excellent grades, he communicated with the professor of the research department and he agreed to take him into the research department. Everyone was shocked to hear this. They again starts calling the selection system too biased. Some even believe that there was no use in good grades if he is mentally weak. The teacher tells him that as long as he works hard, it will be much better than logistics for him. However, to everyone's surprise, Han Zai tells the teacher that he would love to join the research department, but he should still join the logistics department. This was such a bad decision that everyone thought that he has gone mad. Then the teacher gets down from the stage himself to tell him not to worry about what people say, and tries to make Han Zai understand that the logistics can be very dangerous at times, that his brain and personality are very suitable for scientific research. But Han Zai replies him that he is perfectly fine with going to the logistics department after thinking about it a lot. The teacher was not sure what should he say. The other students were also confused. Han Zai, however, was really happy that after joining the logistics department, he would be able to find resources to afford his little puppy. But with that, improving strength was a matter of minutes. The teacher was telling him that in the future, everyone would like to go to the logistics. Before he could finish his sentence, a man on the stage shouts on the mic that they need to now change into their school uniforms, and after that, he will give them their first lesson. The first round begins. In the combat round, it was the logistics department against the combat department. Wang Kai was certain that Han Zai would lose to him. Meanwhile, Han Zai had something else going on in his mind. He was thinking about their school uniform, which was looking so ordinary, especially the logistics department. No one liked it, but the combat department had much better costumes. But then the master asks his contract beast, Humph, to teach the lazy rookie kids a lesson. From the sky suddenly lands a humongous gorilla beast. Only his roar was enough for everyone to admit defeat. Even Wang Kai was in a very bad state. The master was disappointed that this year's freshmen were not doing much well, and that was the case for those who contracted to the beast. Then he sees Han Zai and Xiaonan, who were not on their knees yet. Especially Han Zai was not even flinching. The master finds it very interesting. He commands his beast to return at once. Thus, Humph disappears. He then asks them their name after introducing himself as the captain of the second team, Long Yan. After hearing their names, he tells them that he has always been a very practical person. So, he comes straight to the point. He tells them that the activities of alien beasts have become more and more frequent recently. The power of human beings against alien beasts is also slowly weakening. That if they do not fight, then they will surely die. That they do not have much time left for their growth. He shows a picture of a dungeon on the screen and tells them that they do not have to fight each other, rather they will have to go to the dungeon. That will be their first trial after entering school. The students could not believe on what he just said. They thought he is joking at first. Then they were very pissed. Going there without any training was nothing but death. Han Zai did not expect the trial to come so soon, but he was ready as it was a good opportunity to improve. Then Captain Long Yan tells them that in this trial, there will be many team leaders to ensure their safety, and that at this time, there will be generous rewards and specific rewards and points, and also that the rules will be announced before the trial. He explains to them that the trials will be in groups and now they have less than an hour to team up. Thus, without any delay, everyone starts begging others to join and starts forming teams. Wang Kai's sidekicks were very desperate to team up with him, but he on the other hand was more interested in joining Xiao Nan's team. Half an hour was left. Everyone starts telling their skills, and in order to get into a team, a girl named Zuhui, having a sea-level talented Sika deer, was looking for a team. A guy called Zuwai with a lion-headed goose as a sea-level beast was also in search. They both contacts Han Zai to team up. They both meets, and Zuhui was especially very excited to eat Zuwai's goose as it was looking very delicious. Zuhui hides his beast and tells her to look away, but she was still ready to eat it. So, they starts quarreling. Then the dungeon appears and fog surrounds them. Han Zai knew that he cannot rely on his two teammates, so, before the trial started, he had to hurry up and improve. Then the teacher announces that if they encounter danger, then they can call for help and the team leaders and teachers will come to rescue them immediately. Suddenly, Dao notices something and starts running and disappears into the fog. Han Zai gets into it behind him as well. Then he sees some creatures inside the mist. These were the Mistmans. Han Zai was not worried at all. He was pretty sure that he can beat them easily as the two seemed very weak. Thus, he along with Dao charges straight towards them and then starts smashing them. Han Zai was now much more powerful than before. Both the monsters falls to the ground before expected. Then Han Zai hears a snap. He turns around and sees the old man who was outside the training ground. He tells Han Zai that the trial will now begin. He then appreciates Han Zai for being so hard-working. Han Zai kind of blushes and tries to be modest as much as possible. The man tells him that now the real trial will begin and this time there will be no point rewards for killing the fog creatures. He comes near Han Zai and also tells him that he is the most courageous among all the freshmen, and that it will be much easier to get points if he has more time to ponder skills. Han Zai shows the old man respect for his guidance and then asks him what is the use of the points. The man replies to him that the captain of the battle group will explain everything to him once they get out of the mist. Thus, they gets back and finds out that his teammates were worried about him for disappearing like that. Han Zai apologizes for that. After 1 hour of the trial, a guy commands another to try Han Zai as he can be used by his teacher. The guy asks him if he can eat whatever is left. Yes, it was the guy from the beginning of the story. After Han Zai finally comes out of the fog, and Huhui and Zuwai were really mad at him for disappearing without informing them. Han Zai apologizes to them and tells them that he was catching Dao as he ran away by himself. And Huhui tells them to pick up a weapon from the options available there and get ready to go. She also gives Han Zai his score bracelet. Han Zai was confused. He was wondering what did he miss while he was away. Zuwai tells him that he missed the explanation of points, so he will explain about it later after entering the trial. They enters the trial gate. The place was ruined and was covered with mist. Zuwai asks Huhui if a small dagger is really enough for her. He feels like her little deer does not have much attack power, so he thought he will have to protect him. And Huhui replies to him that if he has any spare time, he should pay more attention to Guan. Yes, he had a mist creature standing right behind him. Zuwai turns around and freaks out. He was literally so scared of it that he falls on the ground and starts screaming. Han Zai and Huhui chuckles as the mist monster was the weakest creature of all and he was still scared of them. Zuwai tells him that they can be very dangerous as well. But Han Zai does not agree. The kind of slow movement of the mist people was just used as a training target. He cheers them up to get rid of the one in front of them. The mist creature starts advancing towards Zuwai, but he was still too scared. Han Zai and Zuhui on the other hand were prepared with their weapons. Zuwai starts swinging his sword like crazy at the mist man but could manage to do only some minor damage to him. And Huhui instructs him to attack the core on its chest. That's where it was weak. Zuwai again swings his huge blade but this time at the chest of the mist man. However, the core does not break. Zhu Wei was surprised to see how hard the core was. The mist man leaps at him, but fortunately, Han Zai stabs it right on the core from behind. Then the mist man vanishes and the core drops to the ground. Zhu Wei felt like it was a big gamble for a small point. Han Zai asks them how the points are calculated, picking up the core, and Zhu Hui tells him that the weakest monster like the mist man has only 1 point. Similarly, Tier 1 Misty Beast is 10 points and Tier 2 Misty Beast is 100 points. And that to enter the pointer we can say to claim the points he will have to just swipe the spar on the bracelet. Han Zai does as instructed and his bracelet now displays 1 point on it. Han Zai asks them how can it not be unfair to the logistics department. They tells him that they can also get points by analyzing the cores of misty creatures through the bracelet, but the points are pitiful, and they have no way to analyze it, who dissipates directly like the mist man. Han Zai wonders, if they clean up a large number of monsters, would not they get 2 points? He looks at Dao and he was craving for that core. Han Zai throws it at him, and Zhu Hui tells him to not let him eat it, but it was too late. The core gem was already in Dao's belly, and Zhu Hui asks Han Zai why his dog eats everything he gets. She tries to open his mouth to get the crystal out. Han Zai asks her what happens if someone eats a crystal. She answers him that crystals are poisonous to contracted beasts, and they might die if they eats them. She could not get it out of him. However, she was surprised to see Dao completely fine even after swallowing it. Han Zai tells her that the theory might not be necessarily alright. Then they sees that many misty beasts were appearing around them. A lot of low-end beasts were still in the mall near them. Zhu Wei was ready to attack them and grab all the points. Thus, they start slaying them one after another. Even Zhu Wei fought bravely this time. Getting so many points after working so hard was not as good as fighting a monster in the fighting department for them. Han Zai reads in his window that at 50% of the progress of the Tunshin Dogs promotion, the host unlocks the improvement of the mouth knife technique. There still was a certain distance. Han Zai tells them to summon their contracted beasts and follow him to kill some high-level monsters. Then from a building top, the teacher observes that a horde of large-scale beasts was appearing everywhere. The trial area was specially cleaned up, but still, a beast tide was coming. Freshman could not fight them head-on. The teacher realizes that it was no longer an ordinary trial. So, the flying beast signals everyone that the beast tide is coming. All the freshmen who participated in the trial quickly entered the building to avoid it. Han Zai and his friend also starts running. None of them had any idea why a beast tide came so suddenly. Han Zai sees an empty mall, so he calls them to come and hide there. Before they could take a breath there properly, bursting through the glass door, a huge beast leopard leaps at Han Zai. Han Zai blocks it with his sword and calls Dao for some help. Dao also leaps and bites the leopard beast on his legs. That was the perfect opportunity for Han Zai. He strikes the beast with his sword and the beast was now in 2 pieces. His teammates were shocked to see just how strong he was. Zhu Wei starts praising and calling him his boss. And Zhu Hui also realizes that he was not an ordinary boy. And Dao was also not an ordinary beast. Han Zhu requests them to keep it a secret. Suddenly, he hears someone asking for help. He tells them to stay where they are while he will go and save them. But Zhu Hui stops him. She tells him that helping classmates is the duty of the logistics department. Then Zhu Wei also tells them to not think that he is not coming. Thus, Han Zai now had no other choice but to allow them to join him. Then they reaches the fog trial area level 2, the front area of the trial, and starts slaying every mist beast they could find. The other students were glad to be rescued. But then suddenly, a guy with his red snake shows up. Han Zai immediately knew that he will not be easy to deal with. He was thinking of using his full potential, but then sees that there were too many people around him. Rashly exposing his strengths might cause unnecessary trouble in the future. The dragon's skin was very hard to pierce. It entangles Han Zai and was ready to either chalk him to death or eat him at once. And Zhu Hui and Zhu Wei were watching this but could not do anything to help him. The snake chalks him very hard. The man was enjoying watching all this. Han Zai hardly gets out of it and was bleeding badly. 2 of his ribs were broken. Dao was very angry. Now the man was about to strike one last time to finish Han Zai, but suddenly their teacher lands with his beast. He was there to rescue them. He was angry that the remnants of the World Extermination sect is disrupting their trial exam. The teacher was also their security in charge. So, everyone was really glad to receive help. They felt safe now. The guy gets even more angry and with one blow, his beast beats a lot of people including the security in charge. The guy teases him for being so weak. The officer was wondering how can someone so strong appear in a place like that. He tells everyone to leave the trial area and run as far as they can. The trial was over. The guy summons 3 huge lion beasts and tells them to chase those who tries to run. The lions were tier 2 crystal devouring beasts. It was turning more and more into a real life risking place. She tells Hanzai that tier 2 crystal beasts are all top notch among the second order mist beasts, with high defense and terrifying power. Their only option was to run away and asks other teachers for help. Zhu picks Hanzai's weapon and the 3 leaves the place. The officer knew he will have to buy some time for them to leave, so he calls for his beast. His beast bird strikes the snake with its thunderball attack, but the snake's skin was so tough that it deflects it and causes itself no harm at all. The bird and the snake goes head to head now. Meanwhile, all the students were running to find some help, and Zuhui was wondering from where such an enemy appeared to whom even the security in charge cannot defeat. Then suddenly, one of the lions shows up. Hanzai kicks it very hard on the jaw and tells the other students to go and tell the other teachers to come over while he is holding it back. Everybody was scared to even move. Hanzai repeats a second time that unless they move right now, they will succumb. Thus, everyone starts running again. Everyone except Zuhui and Zhu. Hanzai asks Zhu to give him the small dagger. Zhu tells him that he should not push it as he is still injured badly, but Hanzai tells him not to worry about him and save themselves. Meanwhile, Dao leaps and strikes the lion beast with his claws. The lion beast launches its beast bomb at Hanzai. Hanzai blocks and deflects the attack using his sword, and before it could attack with a second beast bomb, Hanzai slices it at multiple places at lightning speed. Thus, the beast falls down. His teammates were very happy. Dao was biting the beast, and Hanzai realizes that his injury does not hurt anymore. He opens his profile to check what has improved. He sees that the Swallow God dog was successfully upgraded. It mentioned that now the dog can transform into an adult form in a short time, and all his abilities will also be enhanced after the use of karma. Hanzai wonders if he got the healing effect at the same time as upgrading. He did not know the truth of all this. The crystal they got from the lion beast was sparkling. Hanzai tells them to find the teachers for help first and then they can think about the crystal. But then that guy appears in front of them. He was impressed with Hanzai's abilities. His snake had the bird beast entangled and the man was dragging the security in charge. He has clearly won. Hanzai orders Zuhui and Zhu to leave the place at once. The snake strikes Hanzai with its tail. They both knew they cannot help, so they leaves to call a teacher immediately. The fight begins and Hanzai dodges all attacks of the snake beast. Hanzai knew that his winning chances were low in this fight. He had no other option but to directly attack the master. Both Dao and Hanzai now charges towards him. His beast lions tries to block him, but Hanzai cuts them with one strike without any sword and advances. The guy was shocked. Hanzai had leveled up. The bad guy draws out a dagger and blocks Hanzai's attack. The officer comes back to his senses. As soon as he opens his eyes, he sees the snake attacking Hanzai from behind. He shouts and warns him. The snake was about to attack Hanzai with its venom, but then the officer's pet dashes it away to save him. Hanzai and that bad guy were face to face again along with their beasts. Hanzai was worried about his lack of combat experience. The bad guy on the other hand was really enjoying it. He advances towards the security officer with his dagger to finish him off. He throws the dagger right at him, but his bird beast takes the attack on itself and becomes unconscious. The bad guy was enjoying it a lot, but then suddenly he feels strange. He turns around and sees that his crystal lion beast was taken down by Hanzai. It was lying beneath his foot. The bad guy was really angry after this. Now he gets serious and unleashes his snake completely. It was rather looking much like a dragon. It attacks Hanzai with its tail again, but this time Hanzai blocks it with one hand. Dao also turns into his adult version. Now, the bad guy was shocked. His heart was telling him that if he does not run right now, then he will surely die at the hands of Hanzai. It seems to Hanzai that he does not intend to pay his life for his broken religion. The bad guy tells him to shut up, and that originally he was only ordered to test him, but since he wants to die so much, then he will gladly fulfill his desire. Hanzai wonders what kind of a test is he talking about. The snake was now becoming more and more big and fierce. The bad guy cuts himself and puts the blood on the snake's head. Now, he was like one with it. The snake was now the snake god. Thus, it was the god dog versus the snake god. Huge spiky scales shoot up towards Hanzai from its tail. Hanzai jumps to dodge it, but then the snake was waiting there with an open mouth to eat him, but then Dao leaps and strikes the snake with his claws and saves Hanzai. As the bad guy was now one with his snake beast, he consumes some injury on his arm as well. He was clearly in pain. He commands the snake to kill him. The snake goes into bizarre mode. A lot of buildings also gets destroyed. It chases down Hanzai and Dao. Hanzai knew that they would lose at this rate. He He asks Dao if he knows of a way to stop him. Dao drifts suddenly. Han Zai gets down on him. The Dao leaps again, and this time, he bites its neck area. The bad guy on top of him shakes. Then Han Zai starts getting on the top of the snake where the bad guy was. The bad guy was wondering where Han Zai go, but he realizes that he is right behind him. He gets him out of the snake and slams him down to the floor. The snake was also defeated. Han Zai was choking him while the bad guy was begging him not to kill him. Han Zai tells him that he is not a soft-hearted person. Then the guy grabs Han Zai's hand and tells him that he can only kill him in his dreams. The snake was not dead yet. It was coming to eat Han Zai. Han Zai makes a fist and hits the snake on its head. It was strong enough to blow away the snake. Now, the bad guy had no words. In a very scared voice, he asks Han Zai for forgiveness. But as Han Zai stated earlier, he is not a soft-heart person. With a single strike, he slices his neck. So, yes, the bad guy was dead along with his snake to whom Dao was eating. Han Zai receives the God Dog Truth solution. He was finally relaxed. Dao returns to his real form as well. Then the teacher wakes up. Han Zai was waiting for him to wake up all this time. He asks the teacher if he is alright. The teacher was ashamed of being helpless in a situation like this. He asks Han Zai if he has defeated the snake and its handler. But Han Zai tells him that they should first go to a safe place. He gives him a piggyback ride and starts jumping high and long. It was sufficient to make the teacher cough blood. Han Zai asks the teacher what kind of group were those people. The teacher answers him that they are an evil sect that regards human life as worthless. They finally gets out of the mist to where everyone was, and Zuhui and Zuwai were waiting for Han Zai. Then out of the mist comes out Han Zai with a big smile. They were both very excited to see him again, especially Zuwai. And Zuhui lifts Dao up and feels like she was lifting a very heavy object. Like Dao has gained a lot of weight. Then suddenly she had an epiphany. She asks Han Zai if Dao was promoted and what happened to the Snake Beast Master. Han Zai tells her that the Snake Beast Master died and Dao got promoted with his death. Zuwai was impressed that his boss was so powerful. Han Zai tells them to promise him that they won't tell about him and Dao's promotion to anyone. They promises to keep it a secret forever. On the other hand, the teacher council and other school staff were having a discussion over the incident. The chairman was really pissed that the cult insiders infiltrated a strictly confidential area like Shilian. They decides to inquire the situation with the students who were attacked first, and the captain of a few battle groups. As soon as the students comes out of the dungeon, the media was ready to interview them. A redhead girl reaches to Han Zai with her team. She explains to him that they are the student union entrusted by the principal to ask everyone about the attack on the trial. She takes Han Zai and his friends to a classroom where the other students were already present. As soon as Han Zai enters the room, everyone starts talking about him. Han Zai was getting a lot of limelight in the incident. Some people were praising him for saving them from a Tier 2 crystal devourer by himself, while others were criticizing him for being the waste champion of the contracted dirt dog. A guy was doubting that he really did it all. He believes that Han Zai can never defeat his boss, Bechimos. Another student gets angry hearing this and tries to defend Han Zai. He tells him that Han Zai has saved more than 20 of them. So he warns him to be careful before saying anything funny about Han Zai, to whom now that guy was also considering boss. Zuwai was listening to all of this. Han Zai comes to him and tells him to not get bothered about them. They find some empty seats and settles there. Then that redhead girl from before appears again and asks Han Zai if he will cooperate with their investigation in a very flirty manner. Han Zai starts blushing. She asks him how did his team not only withstood the attack of the men in black but also covered the evacuation of more than 20 students. Han Zai tries to lie her that they just rushed to help when they heard the call for help and that they were lucky to escape from the man in black. Then she becomes a little serious and asks him how did he deal with the Tier 2 Crystal Devourer beast in that case. Han Zai comes up with some lies again that the Crystal Devourer was fast but weak, so he wrestled with it for a while, and it ran away. The girl knew that he was lying and concealing some big secret. Then Wang Kai enters there and tells Han Zai that he is surprised to see that the logistics department is doing well and that he survived. He was still arrogant and tries to mock Han Zai again. He does not stop at that. He keeps calling him lucky, his strength rubbish. Han Zai was still silent, but suddenly a broken piece of bench comes flying at Wang Kai. He hardly dodges it and the broken bench thrusts the wall. It was the senior girl and she was angry. She tells Wang Kai that he has no right to do whatever he wants just because he is a combat type. She mocks him. Wang Kai was scared and gives excuses. She tells him and his sidekicks to get out of there. Wang Kai was angry but could not say anything in front of her. He signals his boys and they leaves. Wang Kai hits a wall and it cracks. He was not ready to say a word about what happened to him in the dungeon. and Zuhui and Zhu Wei were chatting about their senior. They were impressed that she can become so vicious when angry yet looks so beautiful even in that state. She was still there and was questioning Han Zai. Han Zai thanks her for her help just now and tells her that he told her everything earlier, and there's nothing more he can share with her. Now, she becomes all flirty again. She comes close to Han Zai and tells him not to be afraid as she does not eat people. She in fact was very impressed with his performance in the trial and was ready to recommend him to join the student union. There were many benefits of joining the student union. Not only do they have a lot of training resources, but they can also get extra rewards. Han Zai was worried most about the food. Anyway, he tells her that he will have to think about it a little before answering. She tells him not to take too long and that he should rest now as the results of the trial will be announced tomorrow morning. Han Zai agrees. Next day morning, the trial results were out. Everyone was wondering who secured the first position. Han Zai and Zuhui was waiting in a bench while Zhu Wei was gone to check their results. The crowd was real. People were squeezing each other. Somehow Zhu Wei gets there to see the result. After searching for a while, he finally sees Zuhui in 5th place. Others were shocked to see that students from the logistics department were making to the list. They were even more shocked to find out that she has a contracted psych deer. Then, Wang Kai and his boys comes and starts mocking the logistics department. Everyone was definitely pissed. Zhu Wei was elated to see that he himself was ranked 4th. Wang Kai could not believe this, so he steps aside everyone and checks the list himself. He was interested to see who the top 3 are. They finds out that he has been ranked 3rd. Wang Kai was not happy with the result. He tells his men to check the 1st and 2nd. The 2nd place was Jiang Xiaonan, the girl with the grass contract. Now, Wang Kai asks who the 1st is. His men were scared to take his name. It was none other than our protagonist, Han Zai from the logistics department. And with this, 3 out of the top 5 were from the logistics department. The margin was huge between the 1st and the 2nd. Everyone was shocked. Especially, Wang Kai was completely feeling numb. The logistics department had only low-level misty crystal beasts, which could only provide 1 point. So, they were wondering how did he kill more than 2,000 beasts in a couple of hours. Wang Kai was aggravated. Zhu Wei then tells them that their boss Han Zai's points are higher than that of Wang Kai's multiplied by 4. So, if Han Zai is still a waste, then the fighting beasts are even worse than waste. Wang Kai grabs his collar and shouts at him. Something similar was going on in the official department as well. A senior staff, Liu Jianwu, was wondering how did for the first time in history, a freshman from the logistics department took the 1st place. Another lady Bai Dankyu also tells that she was also caught off guard when it happened. Another teacher asks her if she has checked with the security team. Yes, she replies. The matter had alarmed the principal and his old man. Then a student rushes in and informs Bai that Han Zai in her class is about to fight with students from the combat department. Things might get bad if she does not stop them. The other teachers also shows interest to meet Han Zai once, so they tags along as well. What happened was that Wang Kai was about to beat Zhu Wei, but then Han Zai stops him and tells Wang Kai to stop the nonsense. But then Wang Kai tries to hit Han Zai. Han Zai easily dodges it and hits Wang Kai in the guts. Wang Kai backs up. He could feel that the hit was strong, at least stronger than he expected. Then he tells him to compare it with his beast, Behemoth, and summons and unleashes it at him. Wang Kai was ready to kill Han Zai now, and Zuhui knew that if the fight begins then it will be disastrous. Han Zai was resisting very hard not to get angry, but now he had no other choice. Red aura starts coming out of his body and he was converting into a beast himself. Wang Kai was not that confident anymore, but then the teachers arrives and finally stops the fight. Bai tells them that private fights are against the rules. Zhu Wei tells her that Han Zai has no fault and it was Wang Kai who started it first. The combat department's head teacher asks Wang Kai what the matter is. Wang Kai requests him to release of the specifics of the scores of the trial, as Han Zai's contract beast was a little dirt dog and it was impossible for him to kill 2,000 low-level misty crystal beasts. They doubted that the security team helped him to get 1st place. Zhu Wei again starts quarreling with Wang Kai's men. Bai quiets them and tells Wang Kai that it is not a problem to disclose the point rules. She tells them that the logistics department faced a beast tied in the trial, unlike others. In this crisis, 1 of 8 security personnel was disabled and 3 were seriously injured. In the midst of all this, Han Zai killed hundreds of misty beasts by himself, saved more than 20 students and repelled 3 second-order crystal beasts, and even assisted the security guard to defeat a mastermind. Bai tells them that all of this has been personally confirmed by the school and the security personnel. Now, everyone was impressed by what he did. A kind of fan following was growing for Han Zai. Wang Kai finds this impossible. Bai congratulates Han Zai for being the first place in the trial and then warns him not to violate the school regulations in the future, and then tells him that she will help him as the head of the logistics department. Then the old man Liu Jianwu comes to him and asks him if he really is the guy who scored above 2,000 points. With respect, Han Zai tells him yes and asks who is he. The old man grins and tells him his name. He was the director of the combat department and was known as the Misty Calamity. The students wonders what was he doing there. Han Zai greets him properly and asks him what is he looking for. Liu replies to him that he and his friends have good physical fitness, so he offers them to join the combat department. He tells him that as long as he comes to his department, he can personally guide him in the advanced ways of controlling the contracted beasts, and also his self-created combat skills. Bai was hoping that he does not fall into the trap of Liu, but then another old man joins the conversation. He was Zhang Zi. Then shouting at him, Liu tells him to not interfere with his meeting. The students recognizes him as well. Zhang Zi was the top researcher in the research department. They both starts quarreling about in which team should Han Zai go to. Now, Zhang Zi also starts buttering Han Zai that as long as he join his department, he can have as many enhancement potions and healing potions as he wants. The two old men again starts fighting and then suppressing both of them. Bai makes her claim over Han Zai. She hugs him tightly and Han Zai was almost choked to death by her breasts. She tells him that if he really wants to transfer to any other department then she will respect his choice. But Han Zai was hardly incensed. He was blushing and told her that he would like to be in the logistics department. Both the other directors tells him to think one more time clearly. But Han Zai was now determined that he will be in the logistics department. He thanks the directors for their kindness and interests, and tells them that he will be able to contribute to the base city no matter where he is. So, no need to change the department. The directors were shocked with his decisions, but they had no other choice but to respect his decision. Wang Kai was feeling very jealous all this time. Teacher Tian comes to him and tells him not to lose heart. He then tells him that Behemoth is an 11 beast whose limit is much higher than Han Zai's little puppy. That, even though he is great at a low level, he can overcome him any time when he will reach his full potential. So, if he wants to gain back the image of the combat department then he will have to train and become stronger for the upcoming group arena competition where he can teach him some lessons. Then later, the two directors congratulates Bai for picking up a really good seedling. Bai replies them that it was nothing but good luck. Then they sees the school principal was waiting for them. Liu asks him why is he here. He tells them that he heard from Chen Lai's report that there is a very good kid this time, so he was there to meet him. He also tells them that he heard that the two directors fought in front of the students in order to compete with Bai for this kid. The directors start sweating, but the principal was angry. He scolds them for doing such an act even after the freshman was assigned to the logistics department. Then he looks at the list and was impressed by the current logistics department. He tells Liu that he should be worried about his own department as his combat department was not performing up to the mark since last few years. Liu replies him that he will follow all his guidelines in the future but the combat department really require Han Zai. So, he requests the principal to transfer Han Zai to the combat department. The same says Zhang Zi, but the principal scolds them again for being so rigid. And he also did not have any explanation to give to Bai if he makes any changes. Bai was glad to hear that and the directors were disappointed. Then the principal asks Bai where Han Zai is. He wanted to thank him personally for performing so well as saving so many kids. Bai informs him that she saw him going to the training grounds and tells him that she will be glad to take him there. The other workers were shocked to see the principal giving so much credit to someone, especially a freshman. Then Liu comes close to the principal and asks him if he really values the kid so much as the rumor was going on that Han Zai killed the second-order crystal-devouring beast. The other workers starts telling him that the rumor might be false as Han Zai's contracted beast was a dirt dog. They tells him that he might have just escaped with the help of security guards. The principal also initially did not believe it but after listening to Chen Lai's statement that not only the tier 2 beast but also the snake and the snake master was killed by him, he had some reason to meet him once. He asks Liu if his contracted beast is really a puppy. Liu tells him that it's true and that normally it should not be possible for him to kill a tier 2 misty beast. All the staff starts shouting that it's all a lie and it's impossible. The principal warns them and makes them behave. After they shut up their mouth, he again asks Ms. Bai to take him to Han Zai. Han Zai on the other hand was working out and Dao was eating as he always does. Since the path was upgraded, the muscles also became bigger. He did not have much money to buy Dao his dog food from the system. He tells him to wait a little longer and then he will feed him something good. Then suddenly there was a knock on the door. Han Zai wonders who could it be during his training. He opens the door and outside the principal was standing with Bai and Liu. Bai introduces them to each other. Han Zai was amazed to see Principal Song coming for him specially. He bows and greets him. The principal appreciates that even after becoming the rank 1, he came to train instead of celebrating. Han Zai asks Dao to pay respect to the principal. After watching Dao, Song was really stunned. He never imagined that such a weak-looking creature can come on top. He decides to give Han Zai a reward. He takes out his checkbook and writes him a check of 1 million. Han Zai was feeling embarrassed, but he holds the check. But the principal was also not letting it go. He was thinking that there is not enough money in the account to reward him for how strong he is. After Han Zai pulls it harder, he lets it go. He coughs and tells him that if he can't withdraw it at once, then there may be a problem in the banking system. So, he should wait for a while before withdrawing. Han Zai actually had no idea that the check can't be withdrawn. The principal tells him that in future, he can also enjoy half price for the facilities and points dialogue items in the school. Then Han Zai asks him if that's all the substantial reward he will get. The principal replies him that this was just an entrance test, and there will be much more waiting for him in the future. For example, if he can break through 10,000 points in the next trial, he will not only be rewarded generously, but also be able to bring his family to the inner ring area to live together. Thinking about his family, Han Zai was excited. He tells him that he will work very hard in order to achieve it. Then the principal tells him one thing he did not want to hear. He asks Han Zai to replace Dao so that he can advance quickly. Dao starts barking at him. Han Zai holds him back. The principal tells him that he should rest as there is a graded test the next day leaves. While going, he also tells him that he will discover the truth about another part of the world tomorrow. Han Zai wonders what can make the trial grow a little faster. He checks the book in search of a method. But Dao was really hungry. He sees that he needs to learn how to cook Dao's food first. Thus, he wears his jacket and asks Dao to follow him to the gravity room.